Maun Surah. 1. Have you seen the one who denies the day of judgment and recompense? 2, 3. That is the one who repulses the orphan and does not encourage the feeding of the needy. 4. Woe to those who pray. 5. Who are heedless in their salat. 6. Who only show off. 7. And prevent even the smallest act of assistance. Regarding the 4th verse, it is said, woe to those musallin. The reason for this is as follows. These people constantly gather together to perform salat. In other words, they come together every day, putting in great effort and solidarity to learn their religion. In other words, these people are actually performing salat. However, they do not narrate the book of Almighty Allah, but instead, they keep narrating the vain and polytheistic works of their ancestors. In other words, instead of seeking support from Allah's book, they try to seek support from the works left by their ancestors. The spirit of the message of Maun Surah contains the following. The polytheists are immoral individuals who prevent public rights from reaching their rightful place. Orphans and the destitute are representatives of respect for human rights and respect for justice, law, mercy, and compassion. The orphan has no strength, no defense, no protection. Yet the polytheistic mentality, which is against the pure religion of Almighty Allah, pushes and shoves even them. So while he should protect and shelter the orphan and the needy, he even looks down upon him. He even tries to seize whatever is in his hands cruelly and tyrannically. Surah Al-Maun is a surah that defines the social state. Surah Al-Maun exposes the bad morals and character of the one who says, I believe in Allah, yet is a hypocrite. Therefore, Surah Al-Maun decrees that those who steal public property, that is to say, those who commit corruption, are burdened with a sin equivalent to denying religion. Starting from the Umayyad period, Allah's book was gradually abandoned, and in its place, fabricated narrations, along with the jurisprudences and sects guided by these narrations, began to dominate life. The most important values emphasized by the Qur'an, such as the creed of Tawheed, monotheism, not associating partners with Allah, not concealing Allah's clear verses, not mixing truth with falsehood, not separating Allah and His messengers, obeying Allah and His messenger, adhering solely to the Qur'an, being just upholding human right, spending in the way of Allah, enjoining good and forbidding evil, promoting goodness and deterring from evil, and possessing good morals were all disregarded. Instead, rituals that were emptied of meaning and distorted, contributing nothing to the unity and integrity of believers, were imposed on the Ummah as the most important pillars of Islam. Particularly, through a fabricated narration, prayer was adopted as the pillar of religion. Consequently, such a faith emerged devoid of morality and knowledge that everything began to revolve around prayer. Consequently, grand and ornate mosques began to be constructed with the aim of deceiving the nation and dazzling the eyes of the people. In reality, when we look at the verses of the Qur'an, the construction of mosques occupies a very minor place compared to understanding the Qur'an, upholding human rights, practicing good morals, striving in the way of Allah jihad, and giving in charity infaq. In Quranic Islam, the essence is not to construct dry and soulless mosques detached from the knowledge of the Qur'an and the morality of Tawheed monotheism. Instead, it strongly emphasizes doing good to parents, protecting and caring for the poor and needy, sheltering orphans, supporting those striving for freedom, helping the indebted, and looking after close relatives and neighbors, that is, practicing charity infaq. Therefore, the essence of Quranic Islam lies in Tawheed in belief and infaq in action. Whoever possesses these two important virtues and merits will enter paradise through Allah's mercy and forgiveness. Therefore, instead of the fabricated acts of worship imposed by a fabricated religion, it is necessary to emphasize the acts of worship valued in Quranic Islam. The greatest witness to this is Surah Al-Maun. All mosques and places of worship are not equal to the tears of a single poor and needy person. All the narrations related to the worship of prayer, namaz, found in hadith books are lies. In particular, the following narration is the greatest slander against the Messenger of Allah. It is claimed that the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever builds a mosque for the sake of Allah, Allah will build a house for him in paradise." This is how the religion, intellect, wisdom, and future, both worldly and hereafter, of this nation have been interfered with. While such slanders and lies falsely attributed to the pure tongue of the Messenger of Allah, whose sole mission was to convey the revelation sent down by Allah, persist, how can the innocent nation, instead of the stone heaps of the Umayyad Abbasid religion, help the poor, needy, homeless, and destitute? My advice to the monotheists of the Qur'an, those who do not accept any source of religion other than the Qur'an, is to redirect the aid you would give to mosques and places of worship to your relatives, friends, neighbors, those in need, and poor students. Give the money you would spend on Hajj and Umrah to earthquake victims. It will be much more beneficial for you. Whatever is in the Qur'an is true. What is not in the Qur'an is false, superstition, and slander. O polytheists, do you consider providing water to pilgrims and repairing the sacred mosque equal to the faith of those who believe in Allah and the last day and strive in the way of Allah? Yet, they are not equal in the sight of Allah. Allah does not guide the wrongdoing people. Surah At-Tawbah, verse 19. The topics addressed in Surah Maun are primarily related to the reasons why the polytheists of Mecca were condemned dozens of times in the Qur'an. One of the most significant reasons is their denial of resurrection after death, heaven and hell, and the surah begins with a verse addressing this attitude of theirs. In the Meccan Surah Ad-Duha, it is emphasized that one should not oppress the orphan nor repulse the one who asks. Similarly, in Surah Al-Insan, which was also revealed in Mecca, we see that those who feed the poor, the orphan, and the captive are described as the righteous. Surah Al-Insan, verse 8. In line with these themes, Surah Al-Maun condemns the polytheist aristocrats of Mecca who push away the orphan, do not encourage feeding the poor, hoard wealth, and keep counting it obsessively. So, the Surah Al-Maun revealed in Mecca contains information related to the social fabric of life, religious exploitation, and economic activities. Those who regard prayer, salah, or namaz as an important act of worship in religion have assumed that the intended meaning of musallin, the praying ones, found in the surah is Muslims. So much so that this assumption has caused the emergence of the thought that half of the surah was revealed in Mecca and the other half in Medina. However, the surah of Maun has neither any relation to the Muslims of that time nor any connection with prayer, because a handful of Muslims were living in poverty, risking their lives, making every possible sacrifice, half starving, enduring 1,000 kinds of hardship, and moreover, accepting Islam against a multi-layered and stubborn polytheism meant entering into a great danger. Therefore, under all these difficult conditions, it is not conceivable that the sublime Allah would reproach Muslims by saying, "Woe to those who do not pray."